fell in love. I found home. Like from the minute I touched down in India, I was like, wow, I'm home. I'm home. And it turned into 6 months, turned into 6 years. So actually, it's funny because I'd never planned to work in Bollywood at all. I'd studied drama and theater. I'd studied performing arts in London, and I'd had some amount of theater exposure and really enjoyed that world. But I never thought, oh, this is what I want to do as a career in Bollywood. But then again, like, how do you also always embody, being a devotee and being a Krishna conscious? It's like I had to find that. I had to find my authenticity, and it's not just because I have my shawl on that I'm doing it all right. So in Bombay, it was actually very liberating, where I was like, I stopped wearing a shawl, I stopped covering myself up, and I actually found peace with myself in my being. Some time back, Mother Shranti came to me and said, I'm putting together a team to make Didi outfits, and I want you on my team. And now I'm like 3 outfits in. We're working on an outfit right now where I'm so fortunate I get to make the Didi outfits. So that's one of my greatest joys. I get to do service here. This also leads me into thinking about what we're working on right now, which is Kuli Mela, and putting on a festival to share our talents and to share all of our success with each other and for the next generation.
From Alachua, Florida, this is Nectar Talks.
In collaboration with Krishna.com.
And in service to our Bhakti community.
Gita is so excited to have you here and to share your journey and stories of being in this community.
Thank you.
We've been talking about this for a long time.
We have. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah.
So we were kind of talking about how we first met, and I feel like it's such an amazing story. We have to share that. So if you want to share a little bit about where we met.
Yeah, so I guess it was 2007. I just moved to India, and we came together for Kartik, and there was a big group of us. And I remember being engaged in service and going out every day, and it really felt like we were part of something special. And I think like instantly there was a connection, and I feel like that happens a lot in India, or when you're engaged in service, when you come together with a bunch of devotees or guru coolies. It's just like this energy and immediate connection, and like you're part of something and you're going places, and it's just so easy to become friends and build a really substantial and deep friendship from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how many of us have met in India? But that's where we got to really meet and connect. And I remember so clearly Bhakti had created little activities for us to do each day. So one day we were going to Govardhan Parikram. One day we were doing, parikrams of the other temples, the 7 temples. And so it was such an amazing experience to meet Guru Coolies and from all around the world. Yeah. And that's really kind of been how all of our communities are, it's such a melting pot. So, this community, of course, has such a vast array of devotees from all around the world. But I'm sure there's so many stories out there of people meeting for the first time in India.
Yeah. India is an amazing place to connect, especially Vrindavan or the Holy Dham Mayapur as well. I was much more of a Vrindavan girl, but I met so many of my closest friends in India and Vrindavan. And like you're saying about Bhakti having like places for us to go and like a schedule for us to be engaged in. One thing that stands out is your mother was staying in a beautiful, we had like a kirtan there. Like it felt like a bhajan kutir. It was a very intimate space, but I remember decorating it. And something about, I guess, being engaged with people, it's like it stands out as like you're part of something. I'm doing something, and I'm doing something with friends, and it's for a beautiful purpose. And like that, I'll always remember that kirtan and that space that we created together.
Yeah, that was actually such a wonderful place that she helped a lot of devotees, pass on in hospice. And it was like a very, Sattvic place with like mud huts and so many memorials to different devotees along the lineage.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a really special. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me for that.
Yeah.
So let's go back. Let's go back.
Sure.
You know, you did get raised in the movement.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginnings of, you know, growing
Yeah.
up in England. And we've always called you guys the Brit crew. And
Yeah.
we always love, you know, connecting with the Brit crew in India.
We're famous. The Brit crew are famous.
Absolutely. So just take us back to,
Sure, to
Growing up.
Bhaktivedanta Manor.
yeah.
Bhaktivedanta Manor is like a beautiful, beautiful. I feel so privileged to have had Bhaktivedanta Manor as my childhood memories. The community was so special, such an intimate, loving community. Like I feel like I look to my mother's friends. I'm thinking my mother's friends come to mind, but like the elders and the people who were there really do feel like they were my family. Like my mom's friends are still the people that I go to if I have a problem. Like I had this morning, I had my mom's friend on the phone with me, like advising me, because I had so many mothers. I had so many fathers. I had so many people that were there looking after me. And the Gurukul was an incredible place. My mom was a teacher, so again, very connected to the community, to each other. And I mean, I don't even know where to start, because it's like there's so much to share from childhood.
Yeah, you were sharing how your mother and Jahnavi's mother were like you're talking about, like a mother to so many kids
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah,
And that's, you know, the beautiful part about Gurukul
yeah,
is that, you know, we get to have our teachers. I have that same experience here. Mother
Yeah.
Sukata was my teacher for 5 years. And,
Yeah.
you know, so such a beautiful experience there. You were saying that you did Pada Yatra.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that.
yeah. So in the centennial year, they were trying to reach 100 countries. They wanted to mark the centennial year, 100 years of Prabhupada, since Prabhupada's birth, by having Pada Yatra in 100 countries. So my dad, Parshuram, was a big part of that, and he went to places that I didn't end up going, remote places in the world, but we went through the whole of Europe. From like, we started in England, we went to Ireland, Spain, Portugal, Sweden, Denmark, Luxembourg. Those are the countries that really stand out for me. There was many more. My dad continued on. But yeah, Pada Yatra was an amazing experience. Going out on the road, walking, chanting, spreading the Mahamantra, taking the deities, going on procession, going into tiny little villages, tiny towns. Like I remember some tiny towns in Spain where it's sleepy and there's not much going on, but you have a cart and a procession and chanting and all that beautiful energy of the kirtan, like going into these remote, tiny places. And sometimes on Pada Yatra, some of the Pada Yatras were really planned out, and we had like a schedule and how many miles it was going to be, and it was all very, very organized. And then there were some Pada Yatras that were less organized, and some of those memories are some of my best memories, because we didn't know where we were going to camp that night. So, you know, we were leaving our campsite, and we didn't know how long we had to walk or where we were going to camp. And this, I mean, again, some were very organized. There's just a few times that stand out where it's like, wow, I don't know what's going to happen. But there was never any fear. It was like, it's all going to work out. And in one particular memory that stands out, we ended up knocking on the doors, you know, and being turned down, of like farmers, and being turned down. And this one person that stands out was a farmer who opened up to, I mean, there's like probably 20 devotees, vans, carts, bulls, children, you know, everybody. And he opened his house up to us and his farm up to us, and we set up a camp. And I remember he let us into his home and he gave us tea or something. But that warmth and being received was just so impactful. So like Krishna provided everything through this stranger, and he opened up his whole house and heart ultimately to all of us.
Wow. So take us through that. You would have the oxen carrying the deities, and then
Yeah, a
everyone
cart.
would walk?
Yeah.
Would you do kirtan?
I would sit on the cart. Yeah, we would chant. We would do kirtan. I think another really happy memory from Pada Yatra is I must have been 8, 9 years old, and I led the kirtan from, like, it was hours and hours. It must have been from the start to the finish of this one particular day, and I was there chanting for hours leading, and I don't know how to explain that feeling, but as a child, it feels so liberating, so free, so happy, so light, and just chanting and walking. And like some of the walks, I have visions that like are imprints in my mind of just fields and just walking. And there's nothing, you can't see anything, but you're with the deities, you're with your family, you're with the devotees, and you're chanting. And there's nothing more to life. That's it. And it's, very, very beautiful and unique experience in childhood.
Yeah.
Walking and chanting.
How old were you?
I think the first Pada Yatra I went on, I was 5. And it went up until about 12, I think I was still on Pada Yatras.
Do you remember what age you were when you did that singing for the few hours?
Yeah, I would say I was around 9. I'm just thinking of like the pictures that we have from that. And I'd say I'm about 8, 9-ish, quite young.
I love seeing when young kids get the chance and the opportunity to sing. Like when I went to visit India in 2023, in the Prabhupada Samadhi, they have like children's
bhajans, yes.
And it's just so, there was this one little boy that sang the Nrsimhadev prayers with such enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I recorded it and I watch it and share it around, privately, but it is so amazing to see that. And just, the love and care, like pure devotion from the innocence of that age, for them to get into kirtan that young. I think that's such a blessing for our community worldwide that we have now,
Yeah.
And of course, from Alachua, I remember, this was probably way before you came, but we just started off like Wednesday nights going around to different people's houses and doing bhajans from here and there. And now, those same singers are singing around the world and, in colleges and stages around the world. So it's, that's so beautiful. So what do you remember as far as like the places that you were? Were there, you were talking about the farmer. What would you do when you met, like, were in cities or?
Yeah, you definitely attracted a lot of attention, which is an interesting thing because I remember wearing saris as well, and being different and standing out. But it was always, I feel like, so there was a certain part of you that was always a little bit wary of how you were being perceived. But then there was also this other side of realizing, wow, people are receptive. People are receiving us. People are accepting and engaged and excited to see us. So, going through cities, there's a part of me that still sees that like shy girl of like, oh no, like, are we weird? Are we strange? But then there's this other side that is like excited to be out there and excited to engage with people. And as a child as well, I mean, and probably on Rath Yatras as well, maybe I'm merging memories, but I remember giving out sweets and things like that. There was a certain amount of connection that, as a child, I was also making to people like, hey, we're nice people. Like, do you want to be our friend type thing? So there's like an innocence to it as well, But yeah.
I love that. So I didn't even really hear about this before. So you said it started at the age of 5. Did it finish and do the whole 100 countries?
So they were able to do the 100 countries. Like I said, my dad went to some of the more remote places without us. We went to the more planned out, the safer planned out Pada Yatras. But yeah, I guess I don't know why is there not Pada Yatra anymore? Why are we not out on Pada Yatra anymore? I don't know.
I feel like there's a lot of Pada Yatras in India.
Yes.
And then we went several times with Bhakti Marg Maharaj, which he would travel and walk across Canada.
Yeah.
So the bus tour would, stop and walk with him for a couple of miles through. I mean, Canada is so beautiful, especially in the summertime. So that was, get to go and do some walking with him. That was fun. But yeah, I agree. It's from what you shared, like that's such a fun experience for a child to get to experience. And, I kind of feel the same way for the bus tours, like to be able as a youth to be able to go on bus tours and travel the whole U.S. or Mexico or Canada and be part of a festival and a family and sharing the, plays and culture. It's such an amazing experience.
Yeah.
So let's go a little bit ahead. What was it that brought you to India?
Yeah. So my mother took me to India from 6 years old every single year for Kartik. And we'd go for 6 weeks at a time. So from very young, like India became part of my life and became somewhere that I felt at home, somewhere that was like my refuge and my safe space. And I went every year till I was 16 for Kartik. So 10 years in a row, I went every year for 6 weeks. And then I started college, and there was like a 3-year gap, and I went for the installation of Panchatattva in Mayapur, an amazing festival. I just went for like a week. I was like, I haven't been to India in 3 years. Let me go for the Panchatattva installation. So I went for a week to India, and then another 3 years went by, and I hadn't been to Vrindavan in 6 years, from 16 to like 21. And I guess I was, 5 years it seems like. But yeah, I hadn't been to Vrindavan in a long time, and it was calling me. And I'd graduated in London from drama and theater, and I was kind of like, well, what do I do next? I was a manager of the cinema, and I was kind of like, well, I needed something more. I just graduated, and I thought, let me go to India for 6 months just to reset. And I got to Vrindavan the day before my 22nd birthday. And I traveled alone. I was doing a trip to reconnect to Krishna and my roots. And 6 months turned into 6 years. I fell in love. I found home. Like from the minute I touched down in India, I was like, wow, I'm home. I'm home. And it turned into 6 months, turned into 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So take us through some of the ups and the downs, because I know, actually I was living there, and we met up later.
Yeah.
When I was
came and
living
stayed with you in Delhi.
and Vrindavan.
Yeah.
So tell us about how, Vrindavan and Mayapur, how that turned into you moving and going to Bollywood and...
Sure, yeah. So I arrived in Vrindavan, and this just came to me, I'll share it, but I remember being in Vrindavan after 6 years. And there's a certain familiarity with Vrindavan and with India when you grow up there, and you kind of feel like there's a familiarity with it. And I went to Radhakund for the first time. And I just remember sitting there chanting. And for the first time that I could remember feeling peace, and like really genuinely just like, wow, this is what I've been looking for. This is what's been missing from my life. And it was just this deep moment of just like, wow, this is where I'm meant to be. This is what I've been missing. So I guess that was the start of me realizing that I needed something else in life, that I was looking for something more in life. And I went to Mayapur. I think it was Gorpanim, and I went to... I had like a plan. I was going to go to Vrindavan. I was going to go to Mayapur. I was going to go see some friends in Bombay. I was going to go to South India. I had like, a kind of rough itinerary. And so I went to Vrindavan. I went to Mayapur, and then I went to Bombay. And I had friends living in Bombay that were working in the industry that had gone to Vrindavan Gurukul. They spoke Hindi. They were Westerners, but they spoke Hindi. So they kind of had that edge about them that set them up to maybe be in the a Hindi-speaking industry. And so actually, it's funny because I'd never planned to work in Bollywood at all. I'd studied drama and theater. I'd studied performing arts in London, and I'd had some amount of theater exposure and really enjoyed that world. But I never thought, oh, this is what I want to do as a career in Bollywood. Yes, in the theater world, in the performing arts world, but never Bollywood. And in fact, like someone had suggested it to me, and I was like, no, like that's not what I'm going to India for. I'm not going to India for me to find a career. I'm going to India to reset and to find Krishna. And somehow, as soon as I got to Bombay, some opportunities came to me. And I wasn't even looking for it. It was just like an opportunity came to me for work, and like from that, another thing and another thing and another thing. And it was just like suddenly I had all these opportunities, and it kind of took me by surprise. It wasn't part of my plan. It was Krishna's plan. I guess that was where I kind of built my career. In my 20s, I was there. I ended up being there for 6 years. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So take us through some of the highs and the lows there, what people think about what an industry is, like, say, for example, a movie industry,
Yeah.
and then some of the realities of maybe like the more tough parts of it that people don't see on the movie screens.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that it's any surprise that with that industry comes, I mean, I was in the modeling world as well. That industry is very bodily concept. It's very much like you have to be, in fact, especially as a Western girl in India, and at that time as well, the Western roles were very typecast. So they wanted me to be the sexy girl. Like, I remember going for interviews with people and them being like, so are you comfortable in a bikini? And, we need the sexy girl. And it's like, that was the typecast for a Western girl. And I really didn't want to fit that mold. That was like definitely not the role that I wanted to play. But besides that, also just there's partying, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of like, look at me, and with that famous world, there comes just a lot of interesting energy and ego and drugs and alcohol, and I mean it's a very interesting world that it's not so glamorous and So I had to navigate all of that, obviously, and still try to find my own integrity and what I and that's a journey that's not necessarily black or white. I had to definitely navigate a lot in my 20s in that world.
Yeah, I remember seeing you in Om Shanti Om, where they had like all the famous actors and actresses. And I remember just thinking, I'm like, I wonder what it's really like in that.
Yeah.
If you want to share a little bit about, just what people see on screen and then what's really happening and how that's like quite a different, maybe in like the personalities. I don't know. I've met a lot of people when I was in Hollywood, like their screen persona is completely contrast, or sometimes you might find like people are actually nicer in person, or like their personalities.
So Om Shanti Om, I was kind of like I got that role because my landlord was the director, basically. So that was like kind of like we're doing this, come for a week, and there's going to be a million different celebrities on set, and I was just kind of like, that was my first exposure. I was kind of shy and just observing it all. But what I went on to do was a film with Salman Khan, who's like one of the most famous actors in Bollywood. And so that was where I actually got to really experience the industry on a grander level, because we filmed for like months at a time and over the space of a year. So I really got to bond and gel with the people that I was working with as well. And so Salman Khan was an amazing person. He's half Hindu, half Muslim. He's kind of open to both. He's very into his Hinduism. He's very into his Muslim roots as well. But he was an incredible person and really was able to connect on a deep spiritual level as well. And actually, like, I'm and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but like as debauched as the world that comes with that industry, there's also like India's got such a deep spiritual depth that it's just there. Like, you just move away a little bit of the scratch the surface, and it's like, oh wow, these people are actually really deep and spiritually connected people. You can have really amazing conversations about Ram and about philosophy and about Krishna, and it's like there's nothing off the table. We can, and they understand it, and it's So actually, I was very surprised by some of the people that I met and how deep I was able to go on a spiritual level and a philosophical level as well, and yeah.
That's amazing. I know I have so many times where, flying back or flying to India, just sitting next to someone on a plane and, sharing a little bit here and a little bit there. This one person, he was, working in a bank in America, coming for, moving. And, I was just sharing a little bit about, our upbringing. And by the end of the flight, he's like, you know more about our culture than I do. Like, he was just so shocked with how much. So I can imagine the shock from your side of them being surprised with how much you know. Because like you're saying, the white women are typecast.
Right.
And even, living in India, that stereotype is very prevalent.
Yeah.
And especially for remote places where there's not a lot of Westerners, they assume certain things about women,
Yeah.
being more loose. And,
Sure.
I mean, it's just, they think it's okay to,
Yeah. When I first turned up in India, I still think that I had a little bit of identity crisis in me. Like I turned up and I would always have a shawl on. I always had my a high top, no cleavage, and always went to the temple very respectfully. I couldn't imagine going to the temple, in any particular fashion. You have to be a certain way. You have to look a certain way. And I remember going to Juhu Temple, and I was sitting down chanting. There's an area where you can sit and chant. They give you beads, and I went and I did that, and I was sitting there chanting, and I was watching girls enter the temple in denim skirts, short denim skirts, and cleavage, and just regular. It's a very cosmopolitan, modern city, and these are just regular Bombay girls going to the temple to see Krishna. And I always felt like I had to be a certain way and look a certain way and uphold a certain image as a devotee girl, as a good devotee girl. And I feel like I really found my peace and my authenticity in Bombay because India is Krishna's God is everywhere. He's on billboards. You've got Krishna written here and there. And I was always finding Krishna, little temples, little nooks, little this. It's like, well, Krishna's everywhere in India. But then again, like, how do you also always embody, being a devotee and being a Krishna conscious? It's like I had to find that. I had to find my authenticity, and it's not just because I have my shawl on that I'm doing it all right. So in Bombay, it was actually very liberating. Where it was like I stopped wearing a shawl, I stopped covering myself up, and I actually found peace with myself in my being, and it was really eye-opening to see local Bombay people still come to the temple in denim skirts, which I would have never have done. But it was like eye-opening to be like, wow, it's so beyond that. It's so beyond me not, me looking a certain way or you're wearing a denim skirt and therefore you can't come to the temple to see Krishna. It just like, it blew my mind. It was like, it was very eye-opening and liberating.
Yeah, it's very similar. I was in LA for 8 years and just seeing, a lot of celebrities come to the temple there, and it's the same thing. They don't know all the norms and the, dress codes that we grew up with. And so they're just coming to see Krishna and to find him and experience the bhakti yoga that we grew up with. And so kind of meeting them where they are, I feel like that's always something that I have heard growing up about what Srila Prabhupada really embodied was like, meet people where they are. They're actually, I did a little book when I was in school about this woman. I think her name was Rosa or Rose something, which is my legal name. And, she was in a short skirt, and Srila Prabhupada had such a nice and lovely exchange with her. And, you can find that bhakti and have those experiences no matter what is on the outside.
100%. Yeah.
And so, that's really beautiful. What would you say were maybe some of the tougher experiences that you had in living in India?
Yeah. So again, India was always somewhere I went to the Dham, and it's somewhere where you go to take your spiritual life seriously, to connect on a deep level. And then you're living in Bombay, which is not the Dham. It's India, but it's not the Dham. So Krishna's everywhere, and it's all still there, but it's not the Dham. So, I ended up in the party world. That was part of the industry. That was part of socializing and meeting people. It meant that you were in party environments, and so I definitely still had to navigate that side of me of like holding myself in that world and it's, I have no problem in admitting that I definitely went through my partying phase, and I'm not a perfect devotee. So I'm trying to bring it all back to your question, but the harder parts would be, drinking alcohol and being in that world and then like feeling at odds with myself and like not knowing who I was in and amongst that. And then, like, for example, I remember one time, drinking and waking up the next morning just like, oh, Krishna, this is not it. This is not what I'm here for. This is not what I want. And like instantly deciding like I'm going to Vrindavan and like booking a ticket directly to Vrindavan, because it's like, this world is not actually what I'm here for. This is not my world. This is not where I fit in, even though it's really easy to navigate yourself in those worlds. And you feel like, oh, I have to socialize. I have to meet people, and they're offering me drink. And so, no, I have to have this. And the next thing you know, you're just like, you're going along with things that you don't necessarily want, or, that isn't really you. So like, again, just like, but such a blessing that Vrindavan was a couple hours away on a flight, or I mean, even back then, I remember catching an overnight train once. I was like, I booked an overnight ticket and I woke up in Mathura and I was like, Krishna, thank you so much. So yeah, there's always been this deep desire and yearning for Krishna inside of me that I've always come back to, that even like, no matter how degraded or debauched you get, that like, it's like, no, where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? Like, get me out of here. Krishna, help. SOS.
Absolutely. So what would you say was your turning point to closing that chapter in your life and saying, okay, I'm ready to move to my next chapter in my life?
Wow. I would say that that was something that always, I'm just going to be completely honest. I'm an open book, and full disclosure, I was a little bit of a pendulum in that world, like, oh, I'm gonna be in this party world a little bit, and then, oh no, I got to go back to Krishna, and I got to, and it was like a little bit of both. And actually, I remember when I was 16 years old, my mom sat me down once, and she said, listen, because she was aware that it's inevitable that you're going to be exposed to a certain amount of Maya and a certain amount of, especially as soon as, I went to outside school. I was very protected up until 16. I hadn't been in an outside school. And then suddenly you're in an outside school and people smoke and drink, and that's culturally acceptable. And 16 is a very impressionable age where it's like, whoa, I'm in the outside world, and it's a very impressionable age. So my mom sat me down and she said, listen, if you're going to go down that path, do not think that it's the opposite, that you have to be in the opposite direction of Krishna. You can hold Krishna's hand and you can still have the path towards Krishna with you. So it's not that just because you're going to go down the path of Maya that you're completely moving away from Krishna. She said, always hold Krishna's hand and always think that Krishna's path is simultaneously by you. Like that, you're still on this path. So, yeah, that always impacted me. So Krishna's always just been someone that I talk to and hold his hand as much as possible, even if I haven't been in the best of situations or circumstances. But I think that, often in that world, you kind of reach rock bottom and you're like, this is it. I'm never going to do anything. I'm never going to drink again. I'm never going to put myself in that situation again. And again, it's this pendulum. But I would say that I lost a dear friend in 2020. And that was definitely the turning point for me, where it was like, no, something really does have to give, and sobriety's been a huge part of my journey over these years since 2020, of just like, no, I think that losing a friend, especially like as our generation, like someone in your own generation, it really hits home our mortality and like, what is life? Death is inevitable. What am I doing? What is the purpose of my life? Where am I putting my energy? And so I would say losing a friend really is what the catalyst of genuine change, of like, no, that world is not where you're ever going to find any happiness.
Yeah, and that's such a deep, we experienced here when we were I remember I was 16 and we had, a Guru Kuli that passed away at 16 years old. And that changed my life forever. Prithu, just in a car accident, was gone there, lively. And, the next day was gone. And that was such a, check-in. And when we do lose loved ones and people that are close to us, it's such a good reminder for, keeping the end in mind.
Yeah.
And so that is a very sobering moment in our
Definitely.
lives.
Definitely, yeah.
And now, a word from today's episode sponsor.
SaveACare is dedicated to providing essential care to our entire community with a special focus on supporting our most vulnerable members. We are seeing a growing need for our services, and our vision includes significantly expanding our Meals on Wheels, community care, and end-of-life care programs. Our Meals on Wheels program has delivered meals to over 4,000 homebound and elderly community members in the past year. This program brings companionship and smiles to those we serve. Our end-of-life care program offers support and a comforting spiritual atmosphere for our community members as they prepare to leave this world. SaveACare promotes health education and awareness. It's about empowering our community to lead healthier, happier lives. To achieve this expansion and better serve our community, we rely on the generosity of individuals like you. It's easy to get started. Visit our website or Facebook page for more information.
All right, back to our episode.
So take us to what brought you here to Alachua?
I guess becoming a mother. It's the most beautiful thing, and this is the most beautiful time in your life, becoming a mother. And Alachua is, honestly, I felt like I was in fifth gear in Bollywood in Bombay, and I went to first gear. It was like, whoa, everything's slow, everything's peaceful. It's almost like a restart. And becoming a mother is new life. It's a restart, right? It's a whole new journey into self as well. And Alachua was the perfect place to do that, to reset, to have be back in first gear and take things slowly and find that beautiful rhythm as a mother with your child. Alachua was the most perfect place to have that.
And had you ever lived here or visited before?
So I'd never been to Alachua. I'd always heard about Alachua.
Wow.
Yeah. And I guess I moved here with my ex-husband. He was from the community, so I moved here with him. And I feel like maybe if I hadn't become a mother, I wouldn't have found myself here. I would have probably got here and been like, but wait, where's the action? Where's what's going on? But again, it was just it felt right when I came here with Vayu for the first time. It felt like, okay, this is peaceful and this is conducive to a healthy and happy life as a mother. Yeah.
So from hearing about Alachua for so many years, what was that experience like, coming and seeing everything? Was it more than you expected? Was it like, oh wow, this is nothing compared to, the cities in India that I've lived in? It's just this tiny little town. How is thousands of devotees
right
here?
I'm not gonna lie, I felt isolated and like, wait, I remember, so my first drive through Alachua, they were like, oh, so here's the supermarket, here's there's the gym, there's the this and there's the that, and that's it. And I was like, wait, where? What did I miss? I was like, what do you mean that's it? I was like, Alachua, this huge, like, famous community of, devotees, this is it? Like, what did I miss? But what stands out is the community. It's the people. And, growing up at Bhaktivedanta Manor, having that community. And, I mean, we were on the outskirts of London. We were in London doing kirtan every Saturday night on the streets. We were doing Harinam. And so, London is one of the greatest cities in the world. Sorry if I'm biased. But so it lacks that the energy. It lacks the excitement, you really feel like when you're in a city, there's something happening. Alachua is the opposite. It was very peaceful, but where it makes up for it and where you really feel the greatness is in its community, in the people. You go to the temple on a Sunday and you really feel that you're part of something. The kirtans are incredible. The prasadam, the energy that you feel at the temple is that tangible energy that you feel when you're in a city and that life is around you. And you can feel that on a Sunday at the temple here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And before you have kids growing up here, it does feel slow.
Yeah.
Like, you want to go somewhere where there's more action, more happening. And so, when I was living in LA, I I barely saw the devotees. There was barely, Kartika was like the only one. She would try to get, us together maybe once or twice a year for different things, or maybe some girl groups. But I missed the community so much there.
Mm.
And so, like you, I came back for motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
And so many, I've seen that time and time again when people grow up here, they go off, they're exploring, they live their life, they maybe stray off the path a little bit, and then they come back to Alachua. And you don't appreciate it until you're here and you do get reconnected or connected even for the first time. Because like at first glance, it's like, what, really? This little farmland in the middle of nowhere? There's, moss and lots of insects, and it's hot and humid. Like, what? How is this? But, we, from the beginning, it's always been centered around the children.
Mm.
The Gurukul has always been the pivotal reason why people move here with their families, is to be able to get their kids in association. Like you said, you got that opportunity to not go to public school to 16. Same thing here. I went to the public school when I was 16, but I was just in Ohio with Krishna and her mother, Mrigakshi, and she had the opposite experience of she went to public schools until she was, I believe, 16, and then she came here to go to the girls' ashram, and she was so craving to be a part of, Krishna, and so it's interesting how we're raised, it dictates what that next chapter of our life is, and when we're raised with it, we had to go to the temple every day from 4 o'clock, go to, Mangal Artik and then Guru Puja. And when we were in Gurukul, it was fun. Mother Sukara would collect us like the Maha Sweet. So that was like our reward for going to Mangal Artik.
Yeah.
But we take it for granted when we're there. And then when we hear stories of other people that have just been craving, I remember, so many people, and I feel like this is a big thing that I've heard growing up here, of people would come and visit and feel very on the outside, like that there's, the cliques of Alachua, that it's not very friendly, because we all grew up with knowing each other. So when someone new comes in, we didn't really understand how that feels for them. And so I started hearing stories of people coming from outside, and like you already knew people inside. So when you do know somebody who lives here, it's a different experience. But when you're coming, some girls would come, and their parents might introduce us, and so a big part is that I've learned is like, how do we, when somebody is new, how do we welcome them into our community, and really make it feel, make them feel welcome. And we lived on the farm for many years. My mom was the welcoming party. I feel like her and Mother Sukara, she would have people in our temple room every morning, and just that nice friendly, like in different temples where there's people coming off the street, that's a natural thing, but for Alachua, it's come a long way. So so now that you're here, what are some of the jewels that you've found?
I'm really fortunate that I've found some service here, and so it's actually funny, because how it started was I was a mother. I was bored. I was doing everything at home. I was doing everything I needed to do as a mother, but I was like, okay, but I'm a little bit bored, like, what do I do? And Mother Shranti was offering sewing lessons, and I thought, I'll do sewing. It's, just be something to get me out the house, somewhere to go. So I started doing sewing lessons with Mother Shranti, and, started making, dresses and little things for me. Nothing, no real vision with it, but just for the hell of it. And then some time back, Mother Shranti came to me and said, I'm putting together a team to make Didi outfits, and I want you on my team. And now I'm like 3 outfits in. We're working on an outfit right now where I'm so fortunate I get to make the Didi outfits. So that's one of my greatest joys. I get to do service here. And actually, it's sad, because people want to be engaged. They want to be engaged in service. And the closer you are to serving Krishna, the better the service, right? And not every temple has opportunities for service because the communities are so large. It's not easy to necessarily find a service. So like, I don't know that if I was in Bhaktivedanta Manor right now that I would have that opportunity for service. Whereas here I've been able to find that opportunity for service. And I'm so grateful for that, to be engaged and to put my energy and my skill into something that is for Krishna, for the Lord. I actually get to see him wearing the outfits that I've made. It's one of the most rewarding things. And yeah, I don't know that I would find that somewhere else. I don't know that I would have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful service. Some of my best memories of being in India is helping with the garlands,
Yeah.
and then helping with the flower outfits,
Yeah.
like getting all these, what is it called, orchids,
Yeah.
making full like blue orchids, and then the purple orchids and
Yeah.
the pink orchids. Oh my gosh, there's just the most incredible flower outfits.
Yeah.
And doing that together, and then seeing it on the deities
Yeah.
is just like, what an amazing experience. And I know
Yeah.
Anadi, I'm sure you're part of Anadi.
So I also do the Janmashtami decorations with Anadi and Rohita. We're the decoration team for, well, actually we alternate Janmashtami and Radhastami every other year. This year we're doing Radhastami. So yeah, I get to, again, that's a form of serving. And in we put our creative energy into something, and we make beautiful, visually, aesthetically pleasing things for Krishna and for the devotees. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something really rewarding about seeing your creation in the temple room or on the deities. It's really special. And then I also get to put the deity outfits away on a Monday night. And again, something about seeing Krishna, it's such a personal thing because I get to see Krishna wearing his outfit and all of it. I'll notice what bracelets he's wearing, what rings he's wearing. And then later when I'm putting it away, it's like it's a beautiful way to be connected to Krishna. It's like, yeah.
We used to fight over the opportunity to dress Lord Nrsingadev, Lakshmi Devi, Prahlad, and the 2 cows.
Really?
And the children were all allowed to do it. So we had
Wow.
our days where we could change them. And I feel like Mother Mitravinda was really involved in that. She allowed us to do that service. And it was so funny when there was a new outfit. It was like such a big deal to get to dress the deities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were allowed in the Pujari room as kids. And I always remember like the Akadashi were so fun. You know, the red and white outfits, like just those memories really stuck out. There was, you know, a handful of us girls that got to do that. And then, you know, getting to see them on the deities and knowing that, you know, it's amazing seeing, you know, the next generations like helping to do the outfits or getting to, yeah, I know my sister like did the little crochet outfit one time. And, you know, just those little things to be a part of a team is such an amazing thing. Going on the material side, I'm really inspired by your designing of your fashion line.
Oh, thank you.
And it's so amazing because I find that when people come to Alachua, they say, oh, there's just no opportunities. And what really inspires me about you is that you're an entrepreneur and you're a woman. And, you know, I want to encourage that with the youth to be able to see, hey, there's opportunities. You can make opportunities with, you know, the internet and with, you know, so much being available now that you can create a career and you just start something and be consistent. So I'd love to hear you share a little bit about your story of how you got to that and you know.
Yeah. And actually like you're saying, like there's so many ways to find opportunity, even like with the internet. It's like for me, when I came to Alachua, I felt quite isolated, like I said, and I felt like I was cut off from the world. And so I built my business, but I drive to St. Augustine every weekend, and that's just like an hour and a half drive. I go to the beach town. It's you know, St. Augustine, I think, is the it's the oldest established town in America, right? So it's a town of tourism, a town of commerce, a lot movement there. So, yeah, I realized that in order for it to be successful, it needed to not be in Alachua. I don't think that I'd be able to have created a successful business just in Alachua. So again, it's like, just because we're in Alachua and we're disconnected, that doesn't limit us in any way. I don't think that we should ever feel limited in what we can do in life. And yeah, so I bring in the beautiful stamps from India. I'm working with like a third generation of block print carvers in India, and I'm constantly creating new designs that they wouldn't normally carve, not just the Indian motifs, but with, like, I do leopards and unicorns and anything that I can think of. And I'm grateful that it's again something I can put my creativity in. It's a very like hands-on creative process of me actually printing my stamps onto clothing, and yeah.
I love that. And so what I would ask you is what advice do you have, or what future can you envision for, the youth to get engaged and to make something of themselves at a young age? Because, growing up in the movement, and of course it's been going on before we were born, but, there's been like different stigmas of don't start your own business or don't go to school, or, the importance of finances and creating your own business hasn't been there. But, when we do have a successful business, we can provide more opportunities for preaching and for, more engagement. And so what would you share about that?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely wasn't brought up thinking that I shouldn't still pursue a career or still be successful in a material capacity. And maybe even just growing up so close to London, it's like you have to fit into society. You have to, you have to find your place in society, and to make money, you have to provide for yourself. You have to provide for your family. So I never felt limited and like, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that. I mean, this also leads me into thinking about what we're working on right now, which is Kuli Mela, and putting on a festival to share our talents and to share all of our success with each other and for the next generation. But yeah, I would say never. My advice there was a couple of questions there, but my advice to the next generation is never limit yourself. You can be a devotee. You can hold Krishna's hand, like my mom said. No matter what path you go down, just hold Krishna's hand, and really, like, I was a manager of a cinema. I had a career in Bollywood. I was a model in Delhi as well. I moved to Delhi for a year. We didn't talk about that. I came here. I started sewing. I didn't see that as a career opportunity or a money making thing, but I found a way to still put my creativity into a service. And then I created a business because I had to, almost like it was almost like necessity. But we can. Identity is such a funny thing, and I feel like we sometimes limit ourselves. Like, this is who I am and this is what I do. Like, none of those identities are real, right? Like, our only real identity is the soul inside, and that's ultimately Krishna's our best friend. That's our true identity. But to not limit ourselves and to really like find what it is that you like doing or that you're good at, like, and channel that. Find that outlet that you can be creative if you're creative, or use your intelligence if you're an intellectual, or whatever it is that you have and your skills. There's really no limits, and we shouldn't limit ourselves in the way that we see ourselves or what we can do or should do.
Yeah, that is great advice for the next generation, is to, let them see their possibilities and not be restricted in, we can only do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. That, really we can collaborate and work together, which you kind of briefly...
I didn't touch on properly Kuli Mela, but yes.
Our mission is to do, every year, and I'm so excited to be doing this service with you.
Yeah.
Of, Kuli Mela, which is just to, get the community together, encourage the next generations. I was 20 when the first one happened.
Yeah, I was
and now
21.
I'm 40, and it's our 20th
year
anniversary, and the vision has not changed.
Yeah,
I was looking through the manual from 2011, and it's so clear. Help seva, sangha, shakti, and serving each other, serving the community, and working together, and so many beautiful programs have come out from that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because of Kuli Mela, like the Festival of the Holy Name, Village of Vrindavan, you know, all of these nice kirtan festivals. And now we get to, you know, do Kuli Mela, which is, you know, a way to bring the community together on a regular basis and get the next generations in. You know, when our parents were in their 20s, they were opening temples and traveling. I've heard some really incredible stories recently of, you know, a devotee going to Germany and you know, just traveling and to a country by themselves in their early 20s and opening up a whole temple. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like doing an event like Kuli Mela is such a small thing in comparison to that. But
Right.
that's what we can do, and it can have such a big impact
Yeah.
on our worldwide community. And such a fun part of it, I remember you were there in the first one,
Yeah.
is to just get to meet Guru Kulis from all over.
Yeah.
Like my favorite one, which definitely was a very big spiritual experience for me, was in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, you know, I was helping to organize that. And I remember the organizers we were going over the schedule, and there's so many amazing talents from all over.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was looking at the schedule. I'm like, this person has 45 minutes. And it was Madhava, and I had no idea who he was. And so I was like, why doesn't he have 30 minutes like everyone else? Like, so we can fit in more.
Mm.
And they're like, no, we need to stick. That was the most incredible experience. Just complete ecstasy
Mm-hmm.
in his, you know, kirtan. And then, you know, going back to India, you were sharing about, you know, that peaceful time.
Mm-hmm.
Kartik was just such an amazing, I feel like growing up for quite a while, like everyone who was able to go to Kartik. And part of that for me was actually in the MBT garden, you know, Madhava just going and sitting there by himself
Yeah.
and having
Yeah.
beautiful bhajans.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Kuli Mela is a chance where everyone can have their own little spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so I'm really hoping that the next generation get to also have those experiences. And in Belgium, it was so fun because there was the Brit crew, there was the Alachua crew,
Yeah.
there was the Russia crew,
Yeah.
there was the French crew, there was the Belgium crew, there was, you know, so there was just so many different countries coming together. And then we had icebreakers, and we all got to know each other. And by the end, we felt like a huge family.
Yeah.
And
And we are.
we are.
That's the gift that Prabhupada gave us. You know, we are a family. And I think that growing up, we'd go, like, personally, I would come to New York every year. I would travel with the Bhaktivedanta players doing the dramas, and I would come to New York every year. I was 14, 15, 16, 17, all those years I was coming and like meeting American Guru Kulis. It was like, you really felt like, oh my God, this is so cool. We are really part of something. And I was really lucky because at 2021, I was privy to Kapila. He was, you know, one of the founders, the visionaries for Kuli Mela. I was privy to all of his thoughts and his ideas. And so, you know, I remember being really inspired and really like, wow, we're part of something. We're going to do this thing. We're going to come together. We're going to hear from keynote speakers about finances, about business, I was like, whoa, this is like, we have something. We're cool. We're really amazing, like gifted people that have a lot to share. And, you know, 20 years later, it was like, wait, 20-year anniversary, are we not marking this? Like I was impacted. I felt like part of something from Kuli Mela. And 20 years later, it was just like, wait, we have to do something. We have to mark this. And then even more so now that it's 20 years later, it's like my big focus or inspiration is the next generation. Like, we have amazing young adults. You know, my son is 13. He's as tall as me, and he's beautiful. And I'm like, how can we give him the best opportunity? But then I see 18-year-olds, 21-year-olds. That's how old I was at Kuli Mela. And they're third generation, and they're beautiful, and they're talented, and they're gifted, and they're full of life. It's like, how can we make them feel inspired and part of something and impact them so that maybe in 20 years they'll be putting on Kuli Melas, you know? So just to keep that going, that we're part of something very special, and we can share so much with each other and inspire each other and really keep that ball rolling always.
Absolutely. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have all the Srila Prabhupada disciples
Yes,
that are in their, you know, last years.
Yeah.
Like, one of my most amazing experiences, I got to, organize the workshops in several of the Kuli Melas and meeting Peter Burwash, which was always our special guest. We weren't really allowed to advertise him. But he actually spent 3 hours with Srila Prabhupada one-on-one getting business advice, and no one else ever did that.
Yeah.
And, the things that I learned from working with him, and he created a whole presentation, keynote speech for the Gurukulis, specifically for the Gurukulis, and he wrote books also in LA. And
I
by
remember
the end,
crying from his...
everyone was crying.
I felt like, I remember, because what he presented as well was like, you can function in the real world. You can be successful. You can be dressed in a suit. Because I remember he gave his presentation in a suit. You can look like an ordinary person that blends into society, but in your heart of hearts, you can be so devoted to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. Like, I remember I left his, to use the bathroom, and I went into the bathroom and I started bawling, because it was just like, wow, we can be all of it. We can be in the greatest success in these elite circles, and not in the temple. But Krishna can be in our heart, and we can be absolute devotees, and we can be faithful devotees, actually. And yeah, it's not necessarily, like going back to my idea of like, I've got to be shrouded in my dupata, and I've got to, be perfect. None of that actually matters. We can really take this mission on seriously and operate in other worlds outside of just the temple.
For sure. It was funny because there was a little panic moment before that. I went into the room and there was 5 people, and the room was over 100 people.
Yeah.
I ran outside, got the first 5 people, and I'm like, this person has something that you need to hear. Let's spread the word.
Yeah.
And it filled, and I didn't see anyone not crying that.
I mean, I bawled. It was making my hair stand on end, because what he shared with us really impacted me. It really impacted me.
Yeah. And that, that's just one person. So I feel like there's so many gems, and I love this podcast for that reason of, like finding and getting some of these stories from the older generation, but also, so we have our kids, and then we have this older generation, and, sharing our stories and experiences. So that's really, an amazing service that we get to do.
Yeah. And I think that, mentioning the generations is really important, because that's one of the things that I get. Like I mentioned earlier, like I spoke to my mom's friend this morning. I do my service with Mother Shranti and Mother Parijata on a Monday night. And like, I love that I get to associate with these amazing women. These are amazing women. And I hope one day I'll be an elder that is working side by side with a younger in service somehow, like it's such a beautiful relationship and exchange that we have across generations. So yeah, and we're so fortunate that we still have so many Prabhupada disciples with us. Like I want to take as much advantage of that as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're lucky to have, I also, feel so fortunate to have my mother in my life.
Yeah.
And, I took for granted for so many years all of the Prabhupada stories, and now I'm desperate to want to record them for my children and for the community.
Yeah.
There's so many stories that never got shared. And there are so many that did get recorded, but I feel like there's so many stories from Srila Prabhupada disciples. I remember I was in a room, I think Palika was the host, and Mother Nanda was sharing her story, the temple president, previous temple president here, of how she came to Krishna consciousness. And I was just blown away. I pulled out my camera and I'm like, I got to record this because, and the funny thing about storytelling is the more you tell it, the more animated. And, the devotees that have their stories of coming to Krishna consciousness have told it hundreds of times. So it's the most fun experience to hear how somebody came to Krishna consciousness. I loved hers. I love my mom's. I love, so many. there's just some are so hilarious, and Krishna comes in all different ways. Shiva was actually a big part of my mom's story, Lord Shiva, and Krishna peaks in different ways for different people, and then even also very interesting is meeting people who came to Krishna consciousness after Srila Prabhupada. They came to the movement and they had their experiences, their journeys. So yeah, there's so many stories out there that we need to collect and share to inspire each other and to, but thank you so much for sharing your stories today. I feel like I've gotten to know you on a whole nother level and just more excited to serve with you and to share more stories and connect and inspire the next generations together. So
definitely.
thank you so much, Gita.
Thank you so much. Thank you.